It had been 3 weeks since I moved back to my hometown, a quiet lakeside community tucked into the rolling hills of Montana. After 2 decades on the force, including a grueling stretch as a detective in Chicago, I decided it was time to come home. Peace and quiet were long overdue, and taking the job as police chief in this one-station county seemed like the perfect way to find it. The house I inherited from my late uncle sat on 40 acres of sprawling pasture, complete with a private fishing pond and a small herd of cows grazing lazily in the sunshine. By all rights, it should have been paradise, but I hadn't even finished unpacking when trouble arrived in the shape of one tightly wound, clipboard-wielding neighbor, Karen Milbur. Every town has one. But Karen? She had elevated HOA power tripping to an Olympic sport. Within 48 hours of my arrival, she knocked on my door, brandishing a printed pamphlet detailing lawn conformity, fence color regulations, and other petty edicts. I nodded politely, plastering on a fake smile, knowing she didn't recognize me. Clearly, she hadn't read the county newsletter announcing my return and my new role. Perfectly fine by me. That first visit soon turned into a weekly invasion. Notes appeared on my gate, warning about unauthorized vehicles, my patrol car included, unregistered animals, my cows, and suspicious visitors, like my cousin Mike from Missoula. I kept letting it slide, chalking it up to an overzealous personality and a desperate need for control. Then came the fish. I noticed my pond was emptier than usual. Curious, I set up a trail camera to see if maybe a wild animal was snatching them. What I caught was far more shocking. Karen, in a floral wide-brimmed hat, sneaking in through the back fence with a net and a cooler. She wasn't just fishing, she was hauling away full baskets of trout. And not just once. Every other morning, like clockwork, she returned, emptying hundreds of dollars worth of fish. To add insult to injury, she posted on the community Facebook group about her organic local trout dinners. I seethed, but I waited. Then came the cows. 3 of them disappeared. Tire tracks led from my back gate into the woods. My property bordered county land, and these cows hadn't wandered off. They'd been herded. I dusted off my badge, clipped my gun onto my belt, and compiled the evidence. Karen had no idea who she was messing with. The next time she crossed my property line, it wouldn't be a polite knock. The sun rose over the hills as usual, casting golden light across the pond, where Karen had been poaching trout for weeks. But this time I was ready. After reviewing the trail cam footage, I set up a second, more discreet camera closer to the water's edge, hidden in an old log. If she came back, I'd have crystal clear footage, more than enough to charge her with trespassing, theft, and violating local game laws. Something told me the fish weren't her only prize. The cattle theft gnawed at me. Those weren't just animals, they were part of the land, part of my inheritance and family legacy. This wasn't petty theft. It was personal. I drove into town under the pretense of running errands, making a quiet stop at the sheriff's office. Technically, I was their boss, but I didn't want to stir the pot prematurely. Deputy Ray, who'd worked the county for over a decade, looked up as I entered. "Chief?" he said, tipping his hat. "Settling in okay?" "Not quite," I replied. "I've got a poacher and a rustler on my land." "Might be the same person," he chuckled. "Let me guess. Karen Milbur?" Bingo Ray leaned back. "You're not the first she's tangled with, but no one's ever had solid proof." "Well," I said, sliding a flash drive across the desk. "Now we do." Ray plugged it in, and as the video played, his smirk faded into a scowl. "That's blatant theft," he said. "And this," I added, tossing a small evidence bag containing a distinctive brooch I'd found caught in the barbed wire at the back gate. Silver, shaped like a peacock, with her initials engraved on the back, right where the cattle tracks began. Ray nodded slowly. "She's got money and connections, but she doesn't know you're wearing the badge now. This could finally bring her down." Back at the ranch, I started planning carefully. I moved the remaining cattle to the east pasture, right near the fence she'd been cutting through. I put up fresh signs. Private property. Trespassers will be prosecuted. Motion-triggered floodlights and an alarm went up too. I even left a cooler near the pond, empty this time, just to see if she'd take the bait. Sure enough, the next morning, The alarm tripped at 5:12 a.m. I raced out, already in uniform. Rounding the pond, there she was, scooping trout like she owned the place. Cooler half full, she froze when she saw me, recognition dawning slowly across her face. "I thought I told you," she began. I raised my badge. "You're under arrest, Karen." Her face went ghost white. Her jaw worked as if she wanted to say something clever, but all that came out was a stammered, This is outrageous." "Not as outrageous as stealing livestock and poaching fish off a police chief's land," I said coolly. "Put the net down, Karen." She lowered it slowly, as if it might explode. I cuffed her gently but firmly. "You have the right to remain silent," I said, though I doubted she would. "You have no idea who I am," she snapped. "I'm on the HOA board. I know the mayor." I snorted. "That'll be helpful. He'll be one of the witnesses." Back at the station, Deputy Ray couldn't hide his amusement. He'd prepped the holding room and processed her without incident, though Karen demanded a phone call every 10 minutes. I gave her one. She used it to call her lawyer and to rant to her Facebook followers. An hour later, the community page exploded. Police abuse, unlawful detention, chief targets woman for walking her dog. That last one was particularly creative, considering she'd never owned a dog. The backlash came fast, but so did the support. Dozens of locals shared stories of Karen's antics. Fines for the wrong mailbox color, threats over garden gnomes, even one guy claiming she reported him to child services for excessive trampoline noise. I had stumbled into a powder keg, but the clincher wasn't just the videos or the brooch. It was what she had in her SUV. Deputy Ray and I conducted a legal search after the arrest. Inside, we found cattle tags, 3 of them matching the ID numbers of the missing steers. Alongside them, a ledger of transactions showing she'd sold the cattle under the table to a friend's organic meat co-op 3 counties over. Fraud, grand theft, illegal hunting, all documented. Yet when we laid the evidence out, she just sat there, calm, smug, sipping water from a branded HOA thermos. "You think people are going to believe you?" she asked, one brow raised. I leaned in. "I don't need them to believe me. I've got surveillance footage, cattle tags, GPS logs, and a whole county tired of your nonsense." She blinked, said nothing. "We'll be transferring you to county jail this afternoon," I added. "Until then, enjoy the accommodations." "This isn't over," she called as I left. I smiled without looking back. "For you, it just started." Karen's trial came quicker than anyone expected. Thanks to the mountain of evidence, photos, video, GPS pings from her SUV, and the vocal testimony of more than a dozen fed-up neighbors, the district attorney filed charges: unlawful hunting, theft of livestock, trespassing, destruction of private property, and fraud. Serious time awaited her. Her attorney tried to spin a narrative. She was confused about the property lines. She had verbal permission from my late uncle. The cattle tags were misplaced antiques. Laughable. I testified calm, factual, professional. Ray testified too. So did my cousin Mike, who had seen Karen lead cattle toward the rear fence under the guise of a wildlife rescue. Several neighbors added their horror stories, each one painting a clearer picture. Karen wasn't just a power-hungry, HOA tyrant. She was a habitual liar with a dangerous sense of entitlement. When the jury returned a guilty verdict on all counts, no one was surprised, except Karen. She was sentenced to 18 months in county jail with an additional $20,000 in fines and restitution. But that wasn't the best part. The community turned on the HOA board. Within a month, a petition to dissolve it gained traction. Hundreds signed. At the next town meeting, residents voted to disband the HOA entirely. Gone were the days of lawn inspections, mailbox audits, and surveillance by Karen. People reclaimed their yards and their lives. Karen filed 3 appeals, all denied. The organic meat co-op that bought the stolen cattle faced legal trouble and shut down. They'd been skirting USDA inspections too. I went back to tending my land, fishing in peace, and letting the cattle roam without fear of being liberated. And the best part? I got to do what I came here to do. Serve the town with integrity, protect the community, and restore trust in law enforcement, one corrupt HOA dictator at a time. Some locals started calling me Sheriff Karma. The name stuck. Every once in a while, I drive past the old Milbourne place. It's empty now, her property seized and listed for sale. The garden gnomes are gone. So are the security cameras she once pointed at neighbors' windows. The air smells cleaner. The lake sparkles brighter. And the fish? They're back. Because the only thing fishing these days is me. If you enjoyed seeing Karen caught red-handed stealing fish and cattle from the new police chief, don't forget to smash that like button. Drop a comment if you've ever dealt with a troll like her, or if you'd like to see part 2 of this wild story. And subscribe so you never miss the next showdown. Justice is just getting started.